Hello, my friends from Children's Day In and anybody else who's watching. I thought today we would like to take a walk with Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. Are you ready? Get your parents, get your brothers and sisters. We're going to teach them how to have a good time when we can't go outside very much. So we've got to put them in our houses first. Can you say, open the door, step inside, and shut the door? Now, one day, Mr. Wiggle peeked out his window. And he saw, you know what? It's been raining, but I think it's nice enough to go to the park. So off he went downstairs. And he thought, I'll go to Mr. Waggle's house and see if he wants to go to the park too. So Mr. Wiggle opened the door, stepped outside, and shut the door. And off he skipped to Mr. Waggle's house. Along the way, he came to 3 hills. Now, the first hill was not so big, but he still had to go up the hill and down the hill. He skipped along a little bit further and came to a second hill. Now, the second hill was a bit bigger, so he had to go up the hill and down the hill. And off he skipped again until he came to the third hill. Now, the third hill was the biggest hill of all, and he had to go up the hill and down the hill. And he finally skipped on and made it to Mr. Waggle's house. Now, when he got to Mr. Waggle's house, he knocked on the door 3 times. And he waited. But nothing happened. So he knocked 3 more times. And he waited. But nothing happened. And then he kind of looked around and he thought, oh, there's a doorbell. I'll try that doorbell. He rang that doorbell 3 times. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. And finally, Mr. Wiggle came running down his stairs because, you see, he'd been taking a nap. And he opened the door, and he stepped outside, and he shut the door. And you know, Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle are always so excited. Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle, they're always so excited to see each other that they just have to chat and talk for a while and catch up. And they just love talking all the time. So finally, Mr. Wiggle said, Mr. Waggle, do you want to go to the park for a little bit? It'll be a lot of fun to get on a swing for a while. Mr. Waggle said, sure, let's go. So off they skipped to the park. They got to the park, and they looked all around, and thought, there's no one on the swings. We can jump and run on the swings. So they ran, ran, and hopped on the swings, and went, hoo-wee, hoo-wee, hoo-wee. And they just loved the swings. They stayed there all day and went as high as they could go. Hoo-wee, hoo-wee, hoo-wee. That was so much fun. But finally they looked around and they thought, well, before it gets too late, let's go down the slide. So they hopped off the swings, ran over the slides, and went up the slide ladder. And they decided Mr. Wiggle would go first. He sat down and he went, whoo, down the slide. And then Mr. Waggle sat down and he went, whoo, down the slide. They looked around and they said, oh, you know, the sun's starting to go down. Maybe it's time to head for home, because it would not be safe to walk home in the dark. So off they went walking home. They got to Mr. Waggle's house first, and they had to chat one more time because they had so much fun. They had to relive the whole day. And they just talked away for a little while. And finally, Mr. Waggle said, well, you better head for home before it gets dark. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. And Mr. Waggle opened the door, stepped inside, and shut the door. And off Mr. Wiggle went, off to his home. He was so happy. He had such a good day. But he came upon those 3 hills. Now on the way home, the biggest hill was the first one. So he went up the hill and down the hill. And he went a little bit further. And what hill did he come to? Right, the medium hill. He went up the hill and down the hill. Walked a little further on. And what was the last hill on the way home? Righto, the smallest hill. So he went up the hill and down the hill. And he finally got to his house. And he sighed. He said, what a great day. That was a lot of fun. He got to his door, and he opened the door, stepped inside, and shut the door. Have a great day. This is Ruth Dwyer with the Indianapolis Children's Choir. That story was first told to me by my mentor and friend, Dr. Mary Getze at Indiana University. Have a great time with Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. Maybe you can make up other stories. Maybe one day they go to the zoo or they go to the market. Have a lot of fun. Bye-bye.